In this live stream, I'm going to continue where we left off on Wednesday of the 20 best tips for graphic designers when being interviewed. Let's jump right in it, shall we? We're going to continue from question number 11. Can I see your portfolio? This is the easiest question to answer, as there's really only one correct response. Yes. Once you've said that, of course, you have to actually have a portfolio ready to show and talk the employer through some of the pieces inside. This simple question usually comes with a lot of follow-up questions about how you created each piece, how long it took, what your design goals were, so on. The interviewer may not actually ask these follow-up questions, so be ready to give them the answers right away. Before you show off each piece, you'll want to give the interviewer an idea of what they're about to see. You don't need to go into great detail. Just sort of teaser statements about what's coming up next. Something along the lines of, this was a print campaign for a local brand where I was only allowed to use one ink color. Remember to start and end your portfolio with your best pieces. You might only have enough time to go into detail about one or maybe two pieces. So you'll want the immediate access to your best work. Pad out the rest of the portfolio with 3 to 5 other pieces that you think best represent you as a designer. If at all possible, try to fill your portfolio with work that are relevant to the job you're applying for. If you're going for a job designing print marketing, have plenty of examples of past print work. If you don't have relevant examples, there's no shame in creating some spec pieces, just for the sake of adding them to your portfolio. For designers just coming out of school, keep in mind that a professional portfolio is a little different than a school portfolio. And what works for one may not be great to include in the other. With a student portfolio, you're trying to show that you understand the techniques you've learned, while also expressing your artistic ability. With a professional portfolio, you want to show that your skills are markable and appealing. Question number 12. What kind of print media have you worked with? If you're applying for a job in designing print media, chances are the employer is going to want to know what kind of print you've worked with in the past. This also rings true for any job, any design job, not just print. Employers want to know how comfortable you are working in different mediums. This is because employers want to know if you're going to have to train, if they're going to have to train you on anything down the line, which could be expensive on their behalf. So they want to see what you already know to so they know how much further you need to go. Be sure to mention the types of media you've worked within, the equipment you've used, and any formal training you might have received along the way. If you can manage to bring examples of your past print work for the employer to see, since this is print we're talking about, it makes an even bigger impression if you have actual physical examples that the employer can touch, hold, and possibly even keep for himself or herself. If you don't have much experience with print or any medium you might be planning to work with, then you still need to find a way to impart your knowledge of the subject, so employers know that you at least have something to bring to the table. For example, do some research on print design before the interview, so you can at least say that you understand the basic concepts and limitations of working in that medium. Number 13. Can you tell me about a time when you had to work under pressure and how you overcame it? Sometimes unforeseen circumstances can bring additional pressure to the job, and employers want to make sure that the designers they work with aren't going to fall apart the minute the going gets tough. Questions like this tell the employer thing, two things: not only how you handle pressure, but what constitutes a stress situation in your book. Be ready to answer this with an antidote or example from your life that shows you know how to keep cool under pressure. Stories about deadlines, editorial mandates, or last minute changes are good to include because these are the kind of stresses that will naturally occur in the design field. Showing that you've already dealt with these kind of stresses makes you a stronger or experienced candidate. Question number 14 that employers may ask in an interview. What are some of your greatest accomplishments? If you have accolades, awards, academic achievements, or other lofty accomplishments in your past, then this question is likely going to be easy for you to answer. This is your chance to blow them away with all the great stuff you've been able to accomplish in the design field so far. However, many people have difficulties answering this question for a number of different reasons. Maybe you don't feel as if you've accomplished much of anything. Maybe you're actively actively working towards something big, but you haven't quite made it yet. Or maybe your big life accomplishment has nothing to do with graphic design. Remember why employers ask this question in the first place. They want to work with people who have ambition because ambitious people tend to put in the work to accomplish their goals. Employers also want to that understand what inspires you. What do you consider as like an accomplishment in the first place? Your job is in this scenario is to show them why your greatest accomplishments make you the best candidate for the job. Even if they don't seem to that great or have much to do with graphic design at the first glance, tell a story about how you achieved this accomplishment and what obstacles you had to overcome to do so. Also, be sure to let the interviewer know why this accomplishment means so much to you. This is why no matter what your achievements might be, the interviewer knows more about what motivates you and how you utilize that motivation to get stuff done. Question number 15. What qualities do you consider necessary for a good designer? Everybody has their own opinion on what makes a good designer, and your opinion on the subject can give potential employers some insight on how you operate. That's because the qualities you describe are going to be ones that you either already have or aspire to become better at. It's best to go for a wide range of different qualities that show that you understand what it takes to be a successful designer. If you have if you say something like a good designer is creative, imaginative, and has a unique sense of style, you're going to come off as a bit single-minded. Saying something like a good designer is creative, punctual, and open to feedback will make you seem like you understand something that goes into the job, but don't forget that the person interviewing you is likely going to hear a lot of the same thing from every designer they talk to. Come prepared with a few unique attributes to set yourself apart from the rest of those being considered for the job. Focus on unique attributes that relate back to your own personal experiences as a designer and also tie into the job you were applying for. Surprise the interviewer with an answer that is well thought out and one they haven't heard a dozen times before. Question number 16. What are your weaknesses? You know that lame thing where you try to make your weaknesses sound like a positive thing? Oh, I work too hard. I'm too much of a perfectionist. I'm too nice. Interviewers can see right through that act. When they ask about your weaknesses, they're not trying to find out what's bad about you. They're trying to find out how you deal with your own shortcomings and what steps you've taken to improve yourself as a designer. When you try to cover up your weaknesses, it demonstrates to the interviewer that, well, you try to hide your weaknesses instead of fixing them. Give a few relevant examples of your greatest weaknesses, but also provide examples of ways in which you've tried to work on them. Once again, you should back up your claims. Suppose your greatest weakness is that you have difficulty managing your time. Instead of saying it's something you need to work on, mention how you got a new app for your phone that's helping you better manage your time, or that you've started writing out a schedule before working each day. Question number 17 of potential things you'll be asked in an interview. How good are you about sticking to your deadlines? Employers are looking for designers who can not only deliver results, but do so in a timely manner. Failing to meet your deadlines can cost your employer money or make them lose face to their customers, clients, and business associates. If you are good about keeping up on your deadlines, you'll be good to go when it comes time to answer this question. If sticking to your deadlines is something that you have a hard time with, then you need to at least show the interviewer that you respect deadlines and that you do whatever it takes to get your job done. Give examples of times when you weren't able to complete a task on a deadline and explain why you fell behind and respectful, how you resetified the situation. Did you ask for an extension ahead of time? Did you bring in another designer to help you with the work? Keep in mind, there's no reason to punish yourself if you've missed the odd deadline here or there in the past. Potential employers want to know how you're going to handle their deadlines so you can always turn a negative experience into something positive. Say you've missed deadlines in the past because of last minute editorial changes. You might answer the question by saying you're good at keeping deadlines so long as you have everything you need to do the job ahead of time. This way, you can answer the question positively and truthfully, while also giving the employer some insight as to how you work best. Question number 18. How long does it take you to deliver the final product? Time is money, and the more time you take on a project, the more money it will cost your employers in the long run. However, this can be a problematic question to answer because you also need to look out for your own interests. Many designers make the mistake of underselling how long it actually takes them to finish a project, which can create a whole heap of problems down the road. After all, if you say it takes you 1 hour to do a project that actually takes 3, your employer is going to hold you to that statement and you'll find yourself overwhelmed with deadlines you just can't meet. It's almost better in this instance to overestimate how much time you take, just to give yourself a buffer in case you're hit with a particularly difficult assignment. However, that can also be a dangerous game to play because it may make you look less attractive than other candidates who can work faster than you. What's important here is to give the interviewer a sense of how you manage your time. If it takes you longer than others to get a job done, then you need to be able to show why that extra time makes for a better final product. break down your workflow into blocks of time so they know exactly how you work and what you use your time for. This way, if your estimation seems too high, the employer has more information to go on, and it just might help your chances. For example, if you spend a lot of your work time coming up with ideas, it might not be an issue at your new job if some of those ideas will be provided for you by a creative director. Plus, you may find that the employer has no idea how long the project should take and are legitimately asking you because they need to know what to expect. They may be just trying to figure out how to work you into their workflow based on their own timetable. Question number 19. What do you think of our work/company? A job interview might give you the chance to step into the spotlight, but that doesn't mean you're going to be the only one in it. Employers love to hear you talk about their company and the work that they do, just as much as you like to hear people say nice things about your design work. This is also a bit of a test to see if you've done your homework. So try to be prepared to answer this ahead of time. Again, if you don't know anything about the company and can't find out any info, this is a good chance to hear more about them. Give your honest opinion, but avoid being too negative. After all, if you didn't like the company or the work they do, why would you want to interview for the job in the first place? Constructive criticism is okay, but again, you want to frame it around why you're the best person for the job. It's okay to impart that there is something missing within their organization. Perhaps it's a void that only you can fill. But you don't want to come across as someone who is already to start tearing everything down and doing it all yourself in your own way. Regardless of what you know or how you feel, you should have some nice things to say, even if it's just your initial impressions when you came in for the interview. Question number 20 that you may be asked in an interview. Would you consider yourself a team player? No matter if you're an in-house designer or working freelance from home, one, you are a part of something greater, and you belong to a team of people all working toward the same goal. When employers ask this question, They're not looking for a simple yes or no. They're looking for looking for some sort of indication as to where you fit in the team. Are you the type of person who naturally ends up leading the team? Are you happy to just play whatever role is necessary on the team to get the job done? Are you the type of person who can always be counted on to put in the extra work and do last minute tasks that pop up? These are the type of things that employers want to know. If you're a bit of a lone wolf, it's okay to run without a pack. But you're going to have to make some sort of concessions to your future employers. If you work best alone, find some other way that you can contribute to the team. Suggest that you're happy to participate in planning and development meetings, or that you'll check in on a regular basis with your team through email. Employers just want to make sure that everything will keep running smoothly. If they hire you and that you'll be able to get along and work effectively, beside the people who already work there, then that's great. Question number 21. How do you handle criticism? Let's be honest. Artists and designers sometimes have a tendency of turning into divas when faced with criticism or editorial guidelines. It can be frustrating to work in a creative field and have outside factors hinder your creative expressions. But for a professional graphic designer, criticism is a part of the job. Employers want to know that you'll be able to suck it up and make changes to your design when necessary. What's important here is to impart upon the interviewer that you can take direction, that you're open to the idea of others, and that you understand how to work within a hierarchy. However, the interviewer might try to throw in different follow up questions or add modifiers to test how you work when treated unfairly or when giving bad criticism. Answer in a way that's truthfully, but that shows you can still be part of the team. Even if you tend to be a little too argumentative and passionate about your work when faced with unjust criticism. Make sure the employer knows that you are open to critique and willing to listen. Question number 2, and the last question we're going to go over. Do you have any questions for me? With all the pressure and anxiety of being under the microscope during a job interview, people often tend to forget that you're just as much interviewing them as much as they are interviewing you. You should always come prepared with questions to ask at the end of the interview. Not only does this make you seem engaged and show your interest in the position, but it also gives you a chance to make sure this job is a right fit for you. Try to avoid bringing up questions about pay rates or vacation days unless you're in a position where you absolutely have to. Most employers don't like to discuss pay until a follow-up interview. So try to wait out these questions if you can. Questions about the company, the people you'd be working with, and what the job itself entails are all good places to start. However, you'll want to find questions that make you seem engaged, not just going through the motions. Instead of just asking what their company is all about, inquire about the future of the company. Where where is it heading? What projects are coming up? And what's the future means for the position you're applying for? This is usually the last question asked in the interview. So you don't want to take up too much of the interviewer's time. Stick to about 3 to 5 questions, if at all possible. It's a good idea to have these questions written down and to keep some paper and a pen with you during the interview so that you can write down any questions that might come up to you while you're talking. Final thoughts. These There's much more to a successful job interview than just knowing how to answer the most commonly asked questions. To make things easier for you, you've prepared some more tips. We've prepared some more tips that will help you prepare for everything else that comes with a job interview. Well, that's it for this live stream. If you got value from this live stream and would like more lives like this, consider subscribing and smashing that like button. Don't forget, if you need any design help, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at BDesign680. Our motto is if you dream it, we can help you design it. Bye.